Pete.
Georgia Simpson, thank you. Let's keep it in Melbourne now and keep that conversation going. Joining us live, the Shadow Home Affairs Minister, James Patterson. James, good to see you. So, it caught everyone by surprise yesterday, James, this news about Cheng Lei, this very happy news. Was this a win for quiet diplomacy?
Good morning, Pete. Look, it's a wonderful thing for Cheng Lei, for her family, for Australia, and I congratulate everyone involved, the government, our DFAT officials, her supporters in the community, including Nick Coyle, her partner, Annalise Nilsson, your Sky News colleague, who are absolutely tireless in their advocacy for her, and it is a really terrific thing that she's now home. We think that she was unjustly detained. We think she was mistreated while she was detained. We don't think there's any evidence that she has done anything wrong that justified this. But it's good that she's home now, and I think the key is the other Australians who continue to be arbitrarily detained, particularly Yang Henjun, who's been detained for even longer than Cheng Lei has, and about whom we have very serious concerns about his health and well-being. He should be released too. He should be sent home too. Well,
is this positive news for him that China's willing to bend on this?
We can only hope so, Pete. I don't have any specific information that indicates that, but we can only hope so. Yang Henjun, like Cheng Lei, is an Australian citizen. Like Cheng Lei, there's no evidence he's done anything wrong. And like Cheng Lei, we believe he has been arbitrarily detained and mistreated, and he should be released too. And until he is released, it is going to be a continuing source of tension and an irritation and frustration in the bilateral relationship between China and Australia. And I hope the Chinese government, in the same way that they have shown some decency to finally release Cheng Lei, shows some decency towards Yang Henjun as well.
It was an interesting line in the Australian this morning, James, about perhaps a deal that was done where Cheng Lei had to basically admit guilt to these trumped-up charges. Do you think that's likely that China would have had to save face somehow and allow this to happen?
I'm going to be cautious about speculating about that without being briefed on the details, but I did think it was interesting that the Prime Minister said after the completion of judicial processes. That's a very polite way to referring what happens in the Chinese legal system.
Okay. James, wait there. I just want to inform our viewers on this breaking news. We've got live pictures coming into our newsroom now. The Al Jazeera News Network is broadcasting this vision, reporting that Hamas claims to have released an Israeli woman and her 2 children who had been taken hostages as well. Hard to know exactly what we're looking at here, folks, but this is the angle that's being broadcast by Al Jazeera at the moment. Possibly that's them. I'm not saying with any certainty at this stage anyway, but James, while you're there, if this turns out to be true, what does this say about Hamas?
Well, it says nothing about Hamas at all, except that they've made a tactical decision to release some of the more than 150 hostages that they have taken. It's a good thing for those people and their families, but it does nothing for the hundreds of innocent civilians that were murdered in cold blood by the Hamas terrorists, including, we know, dozens of children who were murdered in cold blood, including women and elderly people as well. Hamas is a reprehensible terrorist organisation, and if they've made a tactical decision to release some hostages, I guess that's a good thing, but we should not change our view in any way, shape or form who they really are.
Just on these repatriation flights now, James, British Airways has had to turn back overnight. KLM, as Trudy was just reporting, they won't proceed. They've rescinded their offer from the Dutch government. Should Qantas be doing the same, or would it be better for a military aircraft to go into Tel Aviv?
I'm not briefed on the latest intelligence on this, Pete. What I would say is that if it is not safe for commercial airlines to do this, I really hope that the government has contingency plans in place. It's very important that the more than 10,000 Australians who are in Israel who may wish to come home now are able to do so, and they're able to do so quickly, because unfortunately we all expect the security environment to deteriorate and potentially quite quickly. 2 flights is a good start, but I think we're going to need many more than that, and it may have to be military planes rather than commercial planes. So I hope the government has those plans in place and is able to activate them very quickly, because it looks like it's going to be very difficult to get out of Israel by traditional commercial means.
Okay. Yeah, I remember in the Arab Spring, Qantas was able to conduct some repatriation flights out of Cairo at the time and did so without the need for military aircraft. So we hope it can do the same this time. And just a final one here while I've got you, James. We had Tanya Plibersek on the program a short time ago, and she didn't know that her staffer was going to this pro-Palestinian rally at Town Hall, not at the Opera House, on Monday night in Sydney. The staffer has apologised. But despite, the Prime Minister saying, people shouldn't go to these protests, what do you make of that?
I want to try to be fair about this, Pete. This is a young person who has made a mistake, and I hope that we can take Tanya Plibersek at her word that he is genuinely remorseful and will never do it again. And to Tanya's credit, frankly, she's been a lot stronger in condemning the rallies and condemning Hamas than some of her own cabinet colleagues like Chris Bowen and Tony Burke, who in my judgment have been very weak on this issue. But having said that, it is a shocking error of judgment to go to a rally as a Labor Party staffer when your own Prime Minister has said that rally should not go ahead. And you do have to wonder how someone like that, with that level of judgment, gets hired in an office of a minister like that. This was a rally that was to celebrate Hamas's attacks on Israeli civilians, and no decent person should have shown up to it.
James Patterson, thanks for your time as always. We'll talk to you soon.